Welcome everyone to a new edition of Mr. Brown's Classroom, and this week is week 5. And in English this week, we're going to have a look at a new topic. We're stepping away from the world of advertising and stepping into the newsroom. We're having a look at news reports this week. So let's have a look at what this week has in store. In our learning routine overview this week, you can see that we're really stepping it up with our work on reading and writing activities this week. We've got some really interesting things for you to read and some great writing activities for you to complete. What we'd like to see happen though is if you are not working on your class notebook and you're doing your work at home on paper, please take photos and send them through via email through to your teacher so we can get some feedback to you. We'd love to see and give some feedback on all that hard work that you're doing there at home. A reminder though that this clipboard here means this is the main task that your teacher is providing feedback on. You may not get feedback on every piece of work that you do. The key task of the clipboard you will guaranteed feedback on from your teacher in a detailed sense. Let's have a look at spelling. With our spelling this week, we are looking at the suffix ion. So we're going to add that to base words that end in e and de. For an example, when we look at translate, that becomes translation. If we look at vegetate, that becomes vegetation. So we're just adding the suffix ion to the base word there. Also, thank you to all those people who have been putting their spelling activities that they've been completing on the class notebook. It's really great to see the work that you guys are doing. Let's have a look at our reading now. We're going to have a look at activity 1, which shows us the video Introduction to News Reports in the Media. We're going to list the different news reports discussed in the video, as well as writing out the purpose of those news reports. We've been kind enough to leave you a spot here to do that. Please remember that these boxes do expand as you type, so please don't think we are just looking for a one-line answer. I'm looking for as much detail as you can find from the video when you watch it. You can access the video and the printout here on the left-hand side under the heading News Reports in the Media. The printout is there, which some of you who have the printed pack at home will have. Otherwise, you also do have the opportunity to, in that tab, click on the witch's hat and watch the video. Otherwise, you can also find the link to the learning place in the learning routine overview, which will take you through to the same video. Now we're having a look at activity 2, which is reading the text English lesson 1, introducing news reports. So we're going to click on English lesson 1, introducing news reports. That's a bit of an information overview there for you to go through and have a read. There's some really interesting facts there about news reports and how they are used. And we're going to get you to complete this activity, which if you are on a printed pack at home or you've printed it from the learning routine overview, this is page 3. So we've provided an opportunity here for you to answer these closed passage. So objective language is, not the word answer, you're going to find one of these words across the top here that best fits that sentence. So objective language is something, unbiased is something based. So you will have a look through and get the word that you think best fits that answer. And again, you have the opportunity to scroll back up and have a read of that information if you need to. Our third activity is looking at the structure of news reports. What we're going to do is have a look at the structure of news reports document, which you can see here. Again, in your printed pack, you'll have a copy of this. You're going to go through and read that information to make sure that you understand what the structure of a news article is. You need to make sure that you understand the structure to help you with the questions that we go through in later activities today. Back in the reading section, it is also asking you to highlight the headings used in this text using the drawing tools. Again, if you're working on a pack at home, you could do that with a highlighter or a coloured pen, just underlining our headlines in each of those. So we're going to go to our drawing tool, select our highlight, choose our colour, and we can come through and highlight information as we need it. So you'll be able to highlight those titles as you go through. The next thing, activity 4, is reading the text, The Truth About Sharks. So you can see The Truth About Sharks here on the left-hand side. Again, in your printed pack, you'll have that with you. And this is a news report that was completed all about the truth about sharks. So this is a good opportunity for you to read a news report that has been completed before moving on to our writing task. So please make sure you have read this in detail and understood the content before we move on. That's it for our reading section. Let's have a look at writing. In our writing section, as I said before, you need to have read The Truth About Sharks. Once you've done that, you should be able to complete the worksheet, The Truth About Sharks Week 5, which is just underneath the writing and again would be in your printed pack at home. You need to go through and in the generic structure, you're going to use the draw tools to highlight these features in the news report: the headline, the summary, body, and tail. So you'll go back to your Truth About Sharks document and you can highlight over the top of that news report that is there. It might be beneficial for you to not highlight over the top of it, but maybe just highlight down the sides. So that way you're not actually going to impede on you being able to read that document. So that might help you there. Then, coming back, you need to identify what are the 6 key points to this report. Here's a big clue for you. There are 6 paragraphs and 6 key points. If you look at the key point for each paragraph, you might just have your answer. After that, we're going to write a 1-paragraph summary of the article below. Again, these boxes will expand for you. Now, when we say 1 paragraph, we mean that you're providing a paragraph answer in detail. This is something that I want to talk about in our paragraph writing. There's been lots of paragraphs that have been sent through to us as teachers, which are 1 or 2 sentences which aren't really detailed. We're asking that you provide detailed evidence in there so we have a clear understanding of what you know and your ability. What is the purpose of this report and whose eyes is it seen? So, what's the purpose of the report? Is it to teach us what to do about sharks? Is it to teach us what is actually happening with sharks? You need to identify what is the purpose of this report and whose eyes is it seen through. So, is this someone who loves sharks? Is this someone who wants to cull all sharks? Or is this someone who's indifferent and doesn't really care about sharks? You really need to know who has written the article to understand their bias. Who's the target audience? Is this aimed at people who know everything about sharks? Is this someone aimed at someone who just generally knows some things about sharks? Or is this someone who has never heard of the word shark before? What is our target audience and why is that the case? Then in our writing, we're also going to complete activity 2. Using the truth about sharks, you're going to complete the table below using noun groups and nouns, verbs and verb groups used in this text. So we want you to go back to the truth about sharks and find any nouns or noun groups, verbs and verb groups and list them here. So you're going to need to come up with a nice little list of nouns, noun groups, verbs and verb groups. You should have a really detailed answer there for us. The next part, activity 3, it's creative writing time and we're going to view holding on. It's a Pobble picture. Those of you who've used Pobble pictures before, they're great, and if you haven't, here's a great chance for you to start. You're going to read the story starter. That's right, we've completed the story start for you. What you need to do now is plan the rest of your story and include 3 events: rising action, a climax, and a resolution. That's what we're looking at overall. But this week in week 5, we're solely looking for you to plan your story, write your event 1, event 2, and event 3. This is where our rising action is coming right up and you should feel the tension in your writing. So you can have a look here to the plot diagram, which will give you a reminder of just how that starts, and our rising action here. This is all that part that you're writing about, these events leading up to that climax. So once you've done that, you've also got your typing tournament. You'll be completing that 3 times this week, and you can click through there to take you through to the typing tournament page. Well, that's it for week 5 English. If you haven't done so already, click here to go through to our math video for week 5. And don't forget to subscribe here for any updates as they come through. Well, that's it for us this week. We'll see you next time.